Hi, my name is Brooke Felt, and welcome to our Solidarity Snack Time series. Today I'm going to be talking about unresolved trauma, the power of narrative, and grief. So, what is trauma and how can it be unresolved? Well, trauma is the response to a deeply distressing or disturbing event that overwhelms an individual's ability to cope, causes feelings of helplessness, diminishes their sense of self, and their ability to feel the full range of emotions and experiences. So it can be unresolved when a person is not able to acknowledge or process the trauma, which often causes problems over time. And there are kind of two categories of trauma. So we have the big T trauma and the little t trauma. And big T traumas are categorized as an extraordinary and significant event that leaves the individual feeling powerless and possessing little control in their environment. And these can be things or events like experiencing a natural or man made disaster, getting into some kind of accident, or sexual assault. And then little t traumas are categorized as events that exceed our capacity to cope and cause a disruption in emotional functioning. So, although these are not life or body threatening experiences like the big T traumas, they can be what is called ego threatening, which describes what happens when a person has extreme feelings of helplessness. And examples of little T traumas include things like interpersonal conflict, infidelity, divorce, abrupt or extended relocation, legal trouble, and financial worries or difficulties. And unresolved trauma can express itself in physical and emotional or psychological symptoms. So, physical symptoms include things like insomnia or nightmares, fatigue, being startled easily, difficulty concentrating, racing heartbeat, edginess or agitation, aches and pains, and then muscle tension. And then emotional and psychological symptoms can include things like shock, denial, or disbelief, confusion or difficulty concentrating, anger, irritability, or mood swings, anxiety and fear, guilt, shame, and self blame, withdrawing from others, feeling sad or hopeless, and feeling disconnected or numb. And if unresolved trauma goes on for so long, the physical and emotional symptoms can turn into other kinds of disorders. So it's really important to kind of get those under control. In order to resolve trauma or any experience in general, we have to make sense of it. So, creating a trauma narrative helps to acknowledge and make sense of the trauma and ultimately resolves the feelings around it. Healing unresolved trauma includes the following steps to help create a trauma narrative. Reflect. So, this involves reflecting on the trauma events and really just connecting the dots to what's happened. Having self compassion. So, unresolved trauma can bring back many uncomfortable and negative feelings. And it's important to be kind and show compassion to yourself as you're going through all of this. Feel the feelings. So, although this may seem very painful at first, feeling the feelings will decrease the intensity of them moving forward, and it will allow you to release the feelings instead of burying them. Sift through your mind as you sit with your feelings. So, SIFT is a method by Dr. Daniel Siegel, and it involves really paying attention to the sensations, images, feelings, thoughts that come with your feelings. Pace yourself. So, take your time as you reflect on your feelings and feel all the emotions that come with the process. It's definitely not a race to get through it all. And then use tools to calm down. So this will help you deal with the emotions, anxiety that can feel very intense. So the RAIN approach by Dr. Jack Cornfield is broken down into recognize for R, which allows you to pause and notice what you're feeling. And then accept, acknowledge, and allow for A. And this is just accepting, acknowledging, and allowing the feelings and emotions that come up. Investigate is I. So investigate your thoughts and feelings through the SIFT method. And then N is for non identification, which really is just not allowing the thoughts, memories, or feelings to define who you are. An additional important part of the healing process is allowing yourself to grieve. A big part of having unresolved trauma or feelings of any kind is just not allowing yourself to go through the grieving process. And there are 5 stages of grief. So we have denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. And in the denial stage, you might experience things like avoidance, confusion, elation, shock, and fear. And denial is generally the first stage of grief, and it's really a reaction we have in order to rationalize the emotions we're feeling. It really tries to numb the emotional pain. In the anger stage, you might experience frustration, irritation, and anxiety. And anger starts to surface when you move out of the denial stage, and it comes out as a way to avoid the deep and painful emotions of grief. So you express things in anger instead of sadness. In the depression stage, you might experience being overwhelmed, have feelings of hopelessness, hostility, and flight. And depression is often the stage where people need emotional support. In the bargaining stage, you might struggle to find meaning, begin reaching out to other people, and begin telling your story. And bargaining is generally an attempt to regain control or a way to make you feel like you could have done something differently. And finally, in the acceptance stage, you might begin to explore new options, have a new plan in place, and begin moving on. And acceptance does not necessarily mean happiness, but more of a place of calm and a place of moving forward. And as you can see, these are not linear experiences, so it's important to acknowledge that you may experience these in any order, and that's okay. Healing is a process. And thank you guys for tuning in today. We'll see you next time.